Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Since it's political season, I have two candidates for criminal judges. I'm sorry, one's for criminal and one is for civil Democrats that are up for election that want to talk to you about the importance of voting and how judges affect your everyday life. So it's a little bit different from what we normally do, but we want to talk about it because we're trying to get out the vote. Obviously, we're not trying to tell you how to vote. You vote for whomever you want, but you need to exercise your right to vote. I want to continue to explain to you the way the Texas judge voting system is. You've heard me say week after week that it's a party system. That's the way our state legislators set it up. So that means that you vote Democratic Party or you vote Republican Party. Now, of course, you have the option of voting individually, but you won't know who they are. I'm a criminal lawyer, board certified criminal lawyer, and I don't know who all the judges are. I know who all the criminal judges are, and there are 37 of them. 22 are the felony courts, which means they send you to prison. 15 are misdemeanor, which means they send you to jail, the Harris County Jail, for up to 1 year. But I don't know the civil judges. I don't know how many there are. I don't know who they are because I don't practice civil law. I know there are 3 probate judges. That means dealing with estates and deaths and wills and probate. I don't know the judges, though, so I wouldn't know who to vote for because I don't practice over there. I don't know. I do know the juvenile judges, the 3 of them, so I would know how to vote for them. But maybe because of our sheer volume and the size of our state, it was set up to be straight ticket, a straight party. So it's best to pick a party and vote. And then if you do know the individual judges, you can click that off. And then, like if you go straight Democrat and you know 3 Republicans personally that you want to vote for, you can keep spinning the wheel until you get to their name and then click specifically for that Republican or vice versa. If you know you vote straight Republican ticket, you can do the same thing if you know them. But otherwise, pick a party. The governor's race has been, as you know, we've had Republican governors since Ann Richards. And so all of the judges are Republicans that are up for this election cycle. And that's all of the county courts. For criminal, that's the misdemeanor courts. It's 15 of those. And a few of the criminal felony courts are up, I think about 8 out of the 22. And then on the civil side, all of the county courts would be up also. And then just certain district courts. And district courts and civil are the ones that deal with amounts in controversy of 100,000 or more. So that's my beginning. I'm going to start with by introducing you to Ramona Franklin. So Ramona, please tell my viewers your name and who you are and your background and why you're running and why they need to get out to vote and vote early.
Hello, my name is Ramona Franklin, and I am a judicial candidate for Harris County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. It is a misdemeanor court, and generally what the cases that are heard in that court are anything dealing with assault family member cases, DWIs, possession of marijuana cases, which is kind of like the bread and butter, kind of similar to the DWIs, which is the bread and butter of Harris County. Anything ranging from $1 fine up to a $4,000 fine and up to 1 day, up to 365 days. My background is I'm originally from St. Petersburg, Florida, but I'm a Houstonian. I moved here in 2001, right after law school, and my very first job was at the Harris County District Attorney's Office. I kind of followed in the big stilettos of Vivian King. maybe not as esteemed as Vivian King, but that was my very first job. I looked up to her, and then I opened my own practice, and I've been practicing criminal defense work. And I'm also an adjunct professor at Remington College, where I deal with criminal justice major students.
So how long were you in the Harris County DA's office?
I was there for 3 years. 3 years.
And what kind of cases did you prosecute?
I prosecuted family assault cases, DWIs, prostitution, criminal trespass, criminal mischief, burglary, motor vehicle cases, possession of marijuana cases, theft cases. So a variety of cases. But I love the misdemeanor section because at that point it's a little easier when you're dealing with someone who the most they can get is a year, as opposed to dealing with felony court. And then I believe sometimes people can have the opportunity to be rehabilitated on a misdemeanor level. So I really feel comfortable with the misdemeanor courts. I love them.
Now, when you were a prosecutor, though, did you get to prosecute any felonies cases?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not prosecute any felony cases. I've done felony cases as a criminal defense attorney, but I did not
prosecute them.
prosecute.
So your whole 3 years were prosecuting misdemeanors.
Misdemeanor.
And you got licensed in what year?
2002. 2002.
So you've been practicing for 12 years now.
12 years, and boy, the time goes by so fast. It does.
So 12 years in the misdemeanor courts. So you know a lot about them.
Yes, I know a lot about them, and I love being in misdemeanor courts. Even the clients that I have, very seldom do I have a lot of felony court cases. Usually I'll refer them out. I just feel more comfortable with misdemeanor cases. A lot of my clients are younger clients, and unfortunately a lot of them have been charged with theft cases. And I want to be able to be in a situation to where they can be rehabilitated and not necessarily have a conviction that's going to affect them for the rest of their entire lives.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. I've had people to call me and say, hey, I made this mistake of, pleading out to a theft conviction when I was young, and now I've gone to school and I'm graduated, but now I can't take a state, license. I can't get a state license. And unfortunately, so many people, if they're not advised, they'll do that. They'll say, well, I'll just take time served and I'll pay a little fine, not knowing that the consequences of that affects their life for the rest of their entire life, because now they have that on their record.
And a lot of people don't know that a crime of moral turpitude like theft, prostitution, or a man assaulting a woman, or a woman assaulting a man can affect them for the rest of their lives, because it's a crime of moral turpitude, and theft and prostitution can prevent you from serving on a jury.
Yeah.
So that's pretty severe.
It is very severe.
That's if you get convicted. So you can get like 1 day in jail. That's a conviction. However, like Ramona says, as a criminal defense lawyer, she tries to do a few of the programs that are available to youthful offenders.
Right.
Like pretrial diversion,
Right.
or maybe just outright get it dismissed.
Right.
So talk to us about what you would do differently than the status quo. What would you do different if you became a judge?
Well, the first thing that I would do is to change the court appointment system. It's flawed. It's not working. It's very unfair in the terms of how the judges select the attorneys. It's supposed to be done in a secretive manner. However, it's consistently seen in all of the misdemeanor courts. You have the same attorneys practicing in the same courts.
Right.
Consistently.
Right.
But yet it's supposed to be done in a secretive manner.
Right.
Now, some people will say, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is what happens, the attorneys feel a sense of loyalty to the judge, as opposed to zealously advocating for their client. Well, if I'm wanting to be loyal to the judge because I want to get more court appointment work, then I'm not going to necessarily be advocating on behalf of my client, because I don't want to make the judge angry. I don't want his or her docket numbers to go high. And I may not want to set a case for jury trial because I don't want to anger the judge. And these are things that people, they don't talk about, but it occurs every day.
You think that has to do a lot with people's frustration when they get a court-appointed lawyer? Because a lot of times, as retained lawyers, people call us and say, well, they don't have a lawyer, they just have a court-appointed or whatever. And I think the flip side is people don't realize is that generally, well, I think most people do think that those lawyers are friends with the judge,
Right.
and trying to move. I think that's why they don't trust them.
Right. Particularly, especially with court appointed, because I too have been a court appointed attorney, and I'm always constantly battling, the stereotype. Well, you don't care. You've been appointed, and I always have to tell my clients, look, every attorney is different. You know, you can pay for an attorney
That doesn't care.
that does not care.
And in fact, most of them don't care.
Right. So it's really no difference. You know, it's really just a mere fact, and you know, you're hoping by grace that you get someone who's competent, who cares about you and your case, and who also is concerned about their reputation as an attorney.
Right.
Over the purposes of, you know, suiting the judge and, you know, maybe looking good in front of their peers, that they're more so concerned about the representation of their client.
Right.
So,
Well, tell me how you found the campaign trail, since this is the first time you've run for judge, and I've done it twice. I know it's exhausting and it's thankless, and you can talk to a group of people and talk to one person for an hour trying to convince them to vote, and they don't believe in voting. But yet, you know, it's kind of like the Ferguson situation. The minorities, blacks and Hispanics, and poor people in Houston are that way. They're like the people in Ferguson, Missouri.
Right.
You know, the majority minority, but yet the police is not, and then they wonder why, and they have to get somebody from New York like Al Sharpton to come down when they can control their own politics by voting. It's so frustrating.
It's fair.
Because I remember when I was running, I went to one of the Party on the Plazas that they have downtown, the city of Houston. I didn't get it, and my office was 2 blocks away on Louisiana. I got in there, and I tried to talk to one guy about voting. I ended up talking to him through that loud music for an hour and a half, trying to convince one person to vote, and he was the very kind of person that needed somebody like me or like y'all as judge who would have mercy and who would listen. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you're going to change the consequence, because if you're guilty, the system is not designed for guilty people to go free. But it is designed for people to be heard, to be treated fairly, no matter what their race, creed, or color is, and, you know, for alternatives to incarceration, if that's appropriate. It might not be appropriate. But he didn't think he should vote. And so it's just amazing that people who want help, you know, they want people, come help me when they need help. I mean, I promise you, 75% of my phone calls are people who want me to do something for free, want help. And if I ask them if they voted, you know, maybe their mother voted, or maybe if they're over 40, their grandmother, if they're over 40, they vote. But if they're under 40, they're not voting. And they're like, what are these people going to do for me? They're going to do what they want to do. No, they're going to do what you let them do.
Exactly. I don't understand the disconnect with that.
Yeah, so talk to me. You've been on the campaign trail, and you're younger than I am. You're more patient. And more patient.
Well, I don't
Sarah,
know
I'm going to ask you the same question. Okay. You're more patient than I am. So tell me, how are you trying to stimulate people to exercise their right to vote?
Oh, it's very difficult, and it's discouraging at times, because you know why you're trying to do this. You know, I'm not just running just to be running. You know, I want to make a difference. I honestly want to make a difference. And when you're talking to people that the criminal justice system affects, these are the individuals who are not, you know, oh, it doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. Or, you know, why should I vote? You know, people, like you said, people are going to do whatever they're going to do anyway. And to sit there and talk to them and explain this to them, it gets very discouraging, because I know how the system works, and I know that that's not true. But they've been bought and paid, and mentally, you know, they've been brainwashed, as far as I'm concerned.
But who brainwashed them? We live in the same society they live in, and I don't know who brainwashed them, because everything I hear on the radio and TV says vote, vote, vote. So who has brainwashed these people?
I don't know, but I know from a little girl. I don't know, but I just feel it has to be something, because I can't explain it.
And you're from Florida too. So, and in Florida, those young people got out to vote this last time. Hold on a moment. Farrah, you have not talked, so before you get to say a word, I know you biting at the bit. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Farrah Martinez. I'm running for judge for the 190th Civil District Court. I was licensed to practice law in 2005, and I started my career I hung out my shingle when I graduated, and I took criminal, civil, juvenile cases. So my first case was actually a felony drug case.
Oh, wow.
It was like over 100-pound marijuana case out in Chambers County. So you can just imagine how diverse that jury was. But it was fun nonetheless, and I wasn't afraid to try cases. But you know, the point about diversity on our bench, I think that our bench seriously lacks diversity. You look at Harris County, it is one of the most diverse counties in the entire country. And you look at our judiciary, and it is one of the least diverse, you know, panel of judges that you ever want to see that sit on these benches. And I feel like there's a big disconnect with them in our communities. And it's, for me, I have a hard time, you know, going down to the courthouse. You see the juries, and sometimes they don't make up. They're not diverse either. You know, some of the panels that we see aren't diverse. The judges aren't diverse. And so you have your clients here and they're looking around and they see very few people who look like them, and it's very intimidating for them. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to get involved. But, you know, back to this, people don't want to vote matter. I think it's a mentality. I think that people, one, they feel that their vote doesn't count. They feel like their vote doesn't matter. Their one little vote's not going to make a difference. And even if I put you in office, you're not going to do everything I want you to do. Well, no, we may not do everything you want us to do, but we're going to be fair, we're going to be impartial, and we can relate to some of the things that you've been through in your life because we're from the communities that you actually live in.
Let's stop. It's obvious that Ramona is black. What is your ethnicity or heritage?
Okay. Well, I am the true American, Vivian, because my mom is African American and her dad was actually mixed, also with white and Indian, and my grandmother was mixed with Indian and white and black, and so I just have a lot of different.
So what's your maiden name?
My maiden name is Gathright, and
How do you spell that?
Gathright.
And so your father is white?
He is actually mixed too.
So what's on your birth certificate? White?
No. Black. Well, my mom's black, and she raised me, and I was, you know, grew
but
up.
You don't look black.
I know, but I grew up. I grew up with my mom, who was black. My granny, Maddie Lou Gathright, was black, and so that's.
So your father's mother's black.
My
your
mother
is
yes,
black.
I
And
grew up with my mom. I was,
black. Okay.
you know, my mom was a single mom. She raised me completely by herself.
Okay.
And so I grew up.
So your two mothers, mother and grandmother, are black women.
Yes,
okay.
yes. So I grew up very much in the black community, and then
your father is white or black?
Mixed with black and white. I don't know.
He's biracial?
Yeah,
or
we don't even
multiracial.
Multiracial.
Okay. Multiracial.
But and then I married my husband, who is a black Hispanic.
So if I look at him, he looks blacker than you, or no,
Yes,
about the same?
yes, he's about your complexion.
Oh, okay. So you married a black Hispanic.
Yes, ma'am.
From where?
From Honduras. He was actually born here. He's the first generation Honduran in his family, first generation American, should I say. He went back there for many years and learned how to speak Spanish and came back when he was 8. So anyway, we confuse people everywhere we go. And on the campaign trail, you know, people think that I'm everything because my name is Fair, and I guess that's, you know,
it's
Arabic.
Arabic.
Yes.
So that's why I wondered. I thought you were from a third world country, like Pakistan or something, and you married a Hispanic guy. That's what I thought. That's why I wanted to know. I never knew. Farrah, I never knew.
Well, people, you know, I've been mistaken for being Grecian, Italian, just everything. So to me, I'm what
You're
America,
a melting pot, right?
Yes, I'm what America is made up of, and so, you know, but I think going back to this whole people not wanting to vote, I think it's a mentality. I think they really believe that their vote doesn't count, and they're so disgusted with politicians, local, federally. I mean, I think they're just tired of politicians in general, and so I think they just like, I'm just going to stay home because you promised this and you don't do it, you don't deliver. Or there's so much bickering on both sides. It's hard to get anything done, and I think people are just fed up with it. You know, the government shut down last year. I think people are just tired of politicians. They're tired of voting. They're tired of us, and they just want to, you know, I think they want us to start over, but, you know, I think it's a little too late for that. You got the Republicans and the Democrats, and you got to get on board with one, so.
Right. So what are you doing I wanted to say for the Hispanic community, but you're not Hispanic. So
I lived in East End, and my husband's Hispanic, and he's a Spanish speaker, and his family, they live in the Hispanic community. So we're out there.
So is he out there helping you campaign?
Yes, he's out there all the time. You know, he was out there today. He's definitely working to help us. So.
And what is he finding, or you and him finding in the Hispanic community? What is the apathy about voting? Or the reluctance to vote?
You know, I think sometimes from, you know, the Hispanic perspective, and it just depends on what country you come from, but I'll say, you know, the Mexican American or the first generation Mexican who's here and who has the ability to vote, you know, I definitely feel like sometimes they feel like they are treated as second-class citizens sometimes here in this country by everybody. And so, you know, they don't want to vote. But then, you know, the more educated people definitely want to vote. And so they go out and do it, and they're a mix of Democrat, Republican, and independents. but I think, you know, some of the first generation people, they weren't here for the struggle. Like my grandmother took, you know, she went and picked up people and took them to the polls. You know,
Right, but that's the black
that's
struggle.
the black struggle.
Right.
But what I'm saying is they didn't have that struggle.
Right.
You know, their struggle wasn't the same for them.
Right.
You know, and so I don't.
Their struggle is just becoming Americans.
There's just becoming American and being here, and that's their focus. And I don't think that they really put the same value maybe on voting as maybe some of the black communities do, because, you know, in our household, it wasn't even an option to be registered to vote and vote. I mean, it was not an option, and it wasn't even you know, my granny went so far as to tell me who to vote for. You know? I was like, who to vote for? I had to make up my own mind. She's like, well, who else are you going to vote for? I was like, well, you got a good point. Once she made her argument, but so I think that's some of the problems with the Hispanic community is that they didn't see all the struggles that we had to get the right to vote, so maybe they don't understand the importance. And then, too, I think that they're just fed up, just like all other Americans. They're just fed up with politics. They don't really see us coming to resolve some of these important issues like immigration reform. I mean, that's been on the agenda since, you know, for many, many, many years. And
but do they see that if they did vote and help get Democrats in office, that would help the president do an immigration agenda? Because, I mean, he wants to do it, but I think one of the problems in Houston, I'm from San Antonio, which is a different community. Houston people don't seem to understand politics. For some reason, country San Antonio, with the, you know, 8th largest city instead of 4th, but a lot less in population, 1 million people versus 4 million, they taught us in our elementary schools. And I mean, I understand politics. I mean, and a lot of blacks in San Antonio are very uneducated. I mean, it's 5% black. We're very uneducated as a people, but we understand politics. There's a new DA every 4 to 8 years. Every election cycle or two, always has been. I mean, I've been gone since '76, but there have been women, there have been men. I mean, they change up. And I know growing up it was like this, but I don't know if it's still that way. But growing up in San Antonio, the news just didn't focus on bad things. They focused on positive things kids did. And they talked a little bit about what was going on in city council and the agenda. So I don't know if they still do that because I haven't lived there since the '70s. But somehow my aunt, who's 85, and not educated, I mean, she knows what's going on in city government and in county government. And so somehow our TV and our news media doesn't do it. And that's one of the reasons why I started the show, actually, is because even if I got a cult of 5 or 10 thousand people to watch it, at least I could talk about things from a different perspective, because I hate the way it is on the news. I haven't watched the news in years because it's one-sided, it's predictable. I see the stories that are on TV, and I'm downtown every day in the criminal courthouse, and I know the way these cases come out is nothing like the way it's portrayed on the news, especially at the beginning, and it's never corrected. So it's just how awesome, how gruesome, how negative, how mean can we be? And I hate that kind of news. And
how false.
And how false it is. Most people are generally good.
Yeah.
And although there are some monsters around here, and, you know, like I said, I've run for judge twice, but one of the reasons why I probably never run again is because in the 22 years I've been doing criminal law, I don't think that drugs should be criminalized anymore. I mean, and I'm not saying all drugs should be legal, so maybe I'm not using the right word. I don't think people should be incarcerated for drugs. I just don't think so. I mean, there's too much of an imbalance between the rich and the kids that go to Episcopal and the rich schools using prescribed drugs and having cars at a young age and not being pulled over, and all the black kids are in jail for doing the same thing that the rich kids do. It's just, to me, you should incarcerate people and take people out of society for violence. So if violence is associated with the drugs, yes. You know, if someone's hurting someone to rob them because they're on drugs, or they're protecting their drugs, or it's turf wars, yes, I think the violence should be criminalized, or people should be in prison for. I don't mean criminalized because that's different, but in prison for. I just don't think people should be going to jail for 2 and 3 years for some drugs. I just don't think so, for using drugs. We all use drugs, whether it's the doctor prescribing it, whether it's not. I mean, I have enough stuff, medicine in my cabinet right now to kill me and you tonight, to make us high for the rest of our lives, to sedate us, to raise us up. And I can get that with prescriptions. They might be old prescriptions for different things, but I have enough of it, you know? And so I just think that we've kind of gone wrong in society. I had someone call in last week to talk about, well, what about all these prisons and all these country towns? That's all, those prison dollars support those small counties. But the thing is, what people are not thinking about is, and I guess this is the old accountant in me, which I was an accountant for 10 years, is
Oh, wow.
it's, yeah, yeah, I've been out of college since 1980, so I was an accountant before I went to law school. But those dollars are all our dollars, so they can be used for something else.
Right.
So if a prison closes in Livingston, you can open a factory in Livingston. They can make the same wages and maybe produce something, create something. We don't have to make an excellent profit and use the same salaries.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be, it's our dollars. We can have, government-run factories, whatever. It doesn't have to, it's our money.
Right.
It can be, Livingston can close down, and that can be a mental institution. So when these derelicts are on the street or crazy people doing things, instead of sending them to prison, we can actually send them to a mental institution where they're treated humanely and given medicines, but they live there. So we can reallocate our dollars. And so I guess I'm more on a policy end of things now.
You need to run for a state rep spot. You need to
I'm
go
too
to
old for that. I'm
you're
relying,
not.
I'm relying on young people like you guys to do that, all of it. Because I really believe as young people, young legislators like y'all's age take the place of older ones, marijuana will be legalized. I have found out that in other states, say like if you got a misdemeanor theft, or I got a misdemeanor shoplifting when I was 18 or 19, or possession of marijuana. Some states have like a 10-year grace period. And after 10 years, if you haven't been in trouble, you can get that expunged, and it's an actual conviction.
Right.
And I've had some lawyers tell me about that. And so, like in Missouri or different, Michigan has some type of law like that. So it's all about what we write. I mean, and in a lot of these things, like deferred adjudication, was created when there weren't computers, and so it really meant something. But now it means nothing. So it needs to be erased. It needs to be erased.
Nothing.
It means nothing. It means nothing. I mean, when people ask me, I don't even try to explain it to them because it doesn't mean anything other than yes, it's going to be on your criminal record because it is.
Yeah.
And so you need to tell people you got deferred adjudication, which is not a conviction, and you can't just fill out an application on a computer. Somehow, if there's a note where you can write something down, you need to say, I've never been convicted, but I am on a probation.
Right.
And I don't know how an employer is going to deal with that,
Right.
but it doesn't mean anything.
Right. It doesn't.
It doesn't mean anything. You can't explain that to people.
No, you can't.
And you don't know how each employer is going to use it. You don't know because we don't have jobs like that.
Right.
So I think that our criminal justice system is antiquated to deal with crime as it exists and a system that exists. And also because we haven't upset the apple cart enough by having Democrats and Republicans and people. What I find, and people say this, and it's true, people just get elected and they just do the same thing that they saw other people do because it's been the same too long. But there has to be some independent thoughts, independent procedures followed, but it can still be different people on commissioner's court. It can be different people that are part of these think tanks. But if a Republican judge loses, then they just go make the policy. Somebody just gives them a job in the commissioner's court.
Right.
And create the probation programs
Right.
with the same people.
Right.
But that's our fault as voters. So. And I'm not saying that everybody Republican is bad, because I don't mean that at all. I just wish it was nonpartisan. But
Yeah,
then,
I agree. I definitely wish it
yeah,
was
because
nonpartisan.
it's just not
I mean,
right.
because justice is not about a blue robe or a red robe. When you see the judges get on the bench, they're wearing black robes. And justice in and of itself should be about a blindfold, just like Lady Justice. She's wearing a blindfold. So as a judge, when a judge takes the bench, he or she should look at the person and not even, it's like it's a ghost. Right. You don't see color. You don't see race. You don't see who their attorney is. You don't see how much money they have. You don't see where they come from.
Right.
You see the merits of the case. And if we can all do that, the system will be a lot fair.
Instead of the judges being straight from the district attorney's office, having such an incestuous relationship with the district attorney's office, I just wonder, do they sometimes just want to not be like that? I mean, it's like everybody's married to each other, or, friends with each other, or, everybody hates the same person. Everybody hates the same lawyers. I mean, it's like
a clique.
It's like juvenile, like teenagers.
Yes.
I mean, that's what makes me sad, is that it's not more mature and it's not more independent thinking. That's what frustrates me.
Particularly when you're dealing with people's lives.
When you're dealing with people's lives, and it's just a game.
It's a game.
It's just a game.
But these people, their livelihoods, their lives are turned upside down, literally.
Turned upside down.
And sometimes it's because someone wants a better career. they want a better record in the DA's office. We know how that goes. You know, you got to
Let me
have
take
these
a call,
wins.
Ramona. Hold that
Okay.
thought. Caller, you're on. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Please turn your volume down and state your question or comment.
Yes, good evening, ladies. I have a question. As far as being a judge, now, if you guys win, would you is it just for the city of Houston, different districts?
It's a county. Let me answer that for you, sweetheart. All judges, no matter who they are in the state of Texas, represent a county. So there are approximately 52 municipalities, that's cities, about 52 cities in Harris County. So they would preside. So if Seabrook Police, which is in Harris County, arrests someone, Bel Air Police, Houston Police Department, Jersey Village Police, Kingwood Police, all of these agencies, Precinct 6, Precinct 7, Precinct 4 out in Champions, those constables, Precinct 7 in the 3rd Ward area, Precinct 5 out in the Southwest, any Harris County Sheriff's Department, any city, which is a municipality, a police department who arrest you, Webster Police Department, it's 52 approximately that arrest you. You start off when you get arrested in their jail, and then they transfer you to Harris County, and then you're processed through the district clerk's office, and a case number is assigned. The officer emails a synopsis of what you did. When he arrests you in Webster, let's say, for example, he's going to call the district attorney's office, this man, 24 hours a day, and say, I caught this person running from Kroger, and the manager identified them as stealing $200 worth of food. And it could be in Webster. That same thing can happen in Bel Air Police Department. They will hold them. The DA's office will say, yes, I'll accept charges for a Class A misdemeanor, for example. And then they will on their little computers that you see officers have in their car, they will type up a little synopsis while the person is in the backseat of the car. That's one way of doing it. They'll email it to the DA's office and to the district clerk's office so they can start typing the charges up. And at some point in the next 72 hours, they need to be transferred to Harris County. And Harris County will assign a case number and a court. So if it's a misdemeanor, it's 15 misdemeanor courts. It's just randomly selected until all 15 courts are selected. So it might be court 5, which Ramona's running for. The next one might, when I was a DA, it was a long time ago, it wasn't computerized, so it was like bingo. So they had 15 little, like bingo balls in there with 1 through 15 in there. They pick one and assign the court. And then they pick the next one until all the bingo balls 1 through 15 are gone, and then they load them back up. And so every court has an even distribution of cases. So they would preside over whichever case comes to their court with this type of system. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers. Also, real quick, do the young ladies that's running for office, are they, besides campaigning, do they have, because I haven't heard neither one of their names, are they doing any type of advertising to get their name out there, besides going like to churches or communities and things of that nature? Are they doing any type of, do they have a budget for that?
Okay, Farrah Martinez, who's running for a civil judge, and civil judges deal with money. That's what civil means, not crime. Answer that question, please, Ms. Farrah.
Yes, thanks for that question. Well, when you're running as a non-incumbent in a county as big as Harris County, there are 52 benches on the ballot this season. And so the ballot is very, very long. And what that means is that I am the underdog. And so it's very hard to raise money in a county this big when you have 52 other people running alongside you and you're running against an incumbent, and that means somebody who is sitting there on the bench now. And so it's hard to raise money. So I guess in short, I do have a budget. It's a very, very, very teeny tiny one. And so I'm not advertising like in billboards, and I don't have any commercials, and but what I'm doing is using social media. That's something that's really popular right now. So I have a Facebook campaign, and I have volunteers that are just pumping out a couple posts a day and sharing them and disseminating them out. And I have friends who volunteered to share those posts. And so that's one way. And yes, you mentioned churches. We are going and visiting churches. we're going to speak at different communities.
And let me just interrupt you for a moment now. Because this is public access, we cannot solicit for money, and not that they haven't.
Right,
So we
no.
can't ask you where to send money or anything. So
Right.
make sure that she understand that this is educational, informative, and she's answering your questions on how she raises money and how she spends money, but she's not asking for money.
Right. And so most of all of my personal funds have just been from friends, family, not any, and some lawyers that I personally know and have personal relationships with that maybe I went to law school with or that are friends of mine. So really that's the gist of how I'm raising money. But in terms of how I'm spending it on advertising, you're not going to see any billboards from me. You're not going to see any commercials. We're really just pushing the straight Democratic ticket because we really believe that that's how you can win. So you kind of work together with the Harris County Democratic Party and you help them to push the plan forward, and the plan is in place to help us all win. And so we just all, work together with the Harris County Democratic Party to push the ticket forward, because when there's 52 judges on the bench, like Vivian said earlier, it is impossible for you to know them all. This time I do know most of them because, being on the campaign trail, you get to meet and talk to so many different people. But aside from that, the general public is not going to know all those people. And even if you had, I believe I heard that Ms. King at one time spent $60,000 on one of her campaigns, and I know that she will tell you that it was impossible to reach the 1.2 million people that usually that are registered to vote, and that number has probably gone up since she ran. But so it's impossible to do that with $60,000. You need a massive budget, and running for a judicial bench, it's impossible to raise that kind of money. And actually, we're limited in the amount of money that we can raise. And so even if you could raise it, you're limited in the amount that you can raise.
Okay, Ramona, answer that question.
Thank you for the question. I too am like Farrah. She really nailed it, to the same thing that I would say. It's very difficult to raise money when you are, like she said, we're an underdog. Which is okay,
Yes.
because I have the hope and the audacity to believe that I can make a difference, and I believe that justice matters.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're not going to see the billboards, which last I checked, they were like, what, $20,000 a billboard?
18,
so
16,
yeah,
20,
so
25 in the good spots.
yeah, so
You need to borrow some money from Vivian.
Right. No, all the money I had, I spent, and I'm broke now. That's why I'll never run again. That was $60,000 of my hard-earned money, $1,000 by $1,000. So I can't, and then $20,000 the next time. So I can't afford it, sir. The thing that we find is people don't give us any money. They want us to run,
Yeah.
but they think we're the government. So they think that the money's coming from somewhere. People won't give you $5, and even if they do at a fundraiser, it costs $500 to buy the food and the location.
Right.
So we were having fundraisers and losing money. So remember, Texas is designed as a party system. So we didn't write it, the rules. You have to vote for a party. Even if I got 5,000 votes more, the Democrats versus Republicans will lose by 100,000 votes, okay? So I might get, because people know me more than Ramona, say if I was running, I will probably, from the 2,000 or 10,000 people that watch this, might get 5,000 more votes. But I'm not going to get any more than that because the party loses by 100,000 votes in this. I know in 2010 I analyzed that. Remember, I was an accountant, and the prior gubernatorial they'd lost by 100,000 votes, and I tried to get people on the ticket, the 70-something people running, to try to see if we could split the whole 4 million people up, the communities up, and try to get out the vote.
Right.
No one wanted to listen to me because everybody thought they could do something
On their own.
individually.
You can't.
But I had already analyzed it. And like I said, I was an accountant before. So I tried to get some magazines to help us, Trade Magazine, and get us to do something, in a bigger picture where we could pass them out to all the barbershops and the beauty shops and, just try to get it out as much as we could. I couldn't get the candidates to understand that because everybody's so aggressive and hopeful in that if I get out the campaign, people are going to vote for me. And they didn't realize that most people who go out there, say if you're going to be educated, Carl, and you vote for the Democrats you're only going to know about 5 of them. And so you're going to leave the rest of them blank. The Republicans are going to vote straight tickets. They vote straight tickets. So that means all of the judges right now in this cycle are Republicans and have been since Ann Richards was governor. I mean, I'm telling you, 25 years. So I'm just telling you because the Republicans vote straight ticket because that's the way it's designed. So if you don't vote straight ticket and then maybe just click off if you absolutely know 4 people and you decide if you're a Republican and you know 4 Democrats you want to vote for them, or if you're a Democrat, you vote straight ticket and you might know a few Republicans and click off, your vote is going to be eaten up by the straight ticket Republicans. So
Okay.
I hope that
Well,
answers your question.
I think the exposure you're giving the young ladies, I think this probably help them,
I hope
and
so.
hopefully they win. Y'all have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so when we were talking, Farah, were you telling us about your campaign?
Yes, well, right now, I'm really focusing a lot on, actually, we've been on the campaign trail all day today since very, very early this morning, and this is
Where have
not.
y'all been today?
So earlier this morning, we met with a group of parents of students who actually attend a Head Start here in town, over in the 5th Ward area at a community center, and a lot of those parents, all of those parents, their kids were enrolled in a Head Start program. And why does that matter? What does that have to do with judges? Well, it doesn't really have much to do with judges in general, but, a lot of those people that we spoke with today, they were very intimidated by the fact of even voting. They didn't even know, like one person said, I'm registered, but I'm scared to vote. It's very intimidating, when you go there. So can you tell me the process? How do I even do it? And so I think
It is scary. I voted already, and that little thing, an older man asked me to help him with that wheel. He was like, I did straight ticket, but, it's still, unless you know how to hit next, you can click it off or mess it up. It's very intimidating.
It is.
Right. All right. Click that cast ballot button. But yeah, so we just kind of walked through that with her.
But see, they want to get through that to get to the
To
propositions. So
yeah.
that's the
This
problem.
is true, yes.
So if you hit straight ticket and then hit cast ballot, you don't vote for the propositions. And this older gentleman, it looked like he was in his 70s, he listens to the radio, and Sylvester Turner's been pushing that Proposition 1.
Right.
So he was trying to figure out how to get to Proposition 1. And you got to dial through a lot
Sure
to get
do.
through
You
Proposition 1.
You got to go
Or else
all the way to the end.
Or else
Yes,
keep
all the way
hitting,
to
or
the
else keep hitting next.
Right.
Right.
So, have you voted?
Yes, ma'am. I voted
Okay,
the
well,
first
explain
day.
how to vote.
Okay. I was too excited. I couldn't wait.
Let's take this phone call right quick.
Okay.
Okay, caller, please turn your volume down and state your comment or question. Thank you for calling us. I hear me.
Can
You
you
got
hear
to
me
turn
now?
that volume down.
I'm turning it down right now. Give me a sec.
Okay.
How's that better?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For all 3 candidates, with the Supreme Court ruling of same-sex marriage putting on hold for the courts to throw it back to the lower courts to say they're not going to handle the situation, how do all 3 of you candidates feel? I know you all, one's in criminal, one's civil. So all of you running for office, I think it's very important as structure changes in the state of Texas. I know with Wendy Davis and everybody on board, will you all accept change? What do you all stand on this premise of the same-sex marriage in Texas?
Okay, now you do understand. I'm gonna let them answer, the candidates answer that, but you do understand that it's a legislative decision because it's
Right, I understand.
Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. But generally, we all are in favor of equal rights for equal people,
Okay.
and you have the right. I think we all have the right to love who we love, and to have the same benefits that we want to provide in a marital recognized relationship. That's my opinion. Farrah, what's yours?
Well, as a judicial candidate, we are bound by the judicial code of ethics, and so in the judicial canon, should I say. And so as a candidate, we're not allowed to take a position on any issue. We're not allowed to say how we would rule on a matter or how we, whether we favor, whether we're for or against, because that matter may come before us. But what I can say is that, it's our responsibility to apply the law. And so, that's what I intend to do, is to apply the law and do so fairly and equally. But as a candidate, we can't take positions. That's an ethical violation. So I'll let Ramona say what she.
And let me stop you too. Understand that she's running for a district court where
Right.
It's $100,000 or more civil people suing for money. So
Right.
I think as a Democrat, she believes in the Democratic platform that Wendy Davis discusses. Is that correct, Farrah?
Well, like I said, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not going to say that I take all the positions that Wendy Davis takes, because I'm my own person. I don't agree 100% with anybody, not even, the man I've been married to for 9 years, and today is our anniversary, so happy anniversary, husband. And so, I am my own person. I am a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat, and, but I'm not going to take a position on any issue, because I do believe that that's wrong, but I am a Democrat for a reason.
Okay, Ramona, state your opinion.
Well, I would say this, that I have been endorsed by the GLBT. As a perspective, as a judicial candidate, my mantra is, again, blindfold justice, which essentially means, as a judge sitting on the bench, that I not judge a case based upon what a person looks like, how much money they have, who they love. That's not what is before me. What is before me is whether or not the law that is being applied fairly. And so, it's very important to me as a judicial candidate to make that be clear that that is the main reason why I'm running. I've been a district attorney, I've been a criminal defense attorney, and I've seen the injustices that occur. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, because I want to make sure that on the bench, that it's not a prosecutor on the bench, that it's a judge, because that's not a judge's position. So, it's more so just about me being fair and making sure that the law is applied fairly.
And caller, I would just want you to, I understand you understand it. I can tell that you're an educated
Right.
citizen, but do allow them to, be honest with you. And just like a referee of a football game, they can't say who they're going to call the plays for. And remember, judges are referees between two parties. So they're supposed to stand in the middle and just say, you're out of bounds. Out of bounds for judiciary purposes is you're going outside of the evidentiary rules, or you're doing something that's not allowed by the Constitution or not allowed by the statutes that are in place. So to talk about gay marriage or whatever is kind of not refereeing. You know what I mean? It's not judging. So it's kind of an unfair statement, because you're basically asking them for their personal opinion. And unfortunately, we've gone to.
No, what I'm saying is say there's a gay couple that gets married in California, and they have to have a divorce now in the state of Texas, and you have to break up the amount. We're talking civil. It's be a civil separation between the two people.
Okay.
That's going to eventually come to Texas sometime soon. They're right now in Dallas.
Okay.
There was a case where a gentleman got married in California, and he broke with his partner in Texas. It's very hard for Texas to understand the separation here in Texas. It's done in Texas now where they're living.
Right.
So I guess my stance, what would be your stance here in, say, Texas, sitting on the bench, if you're doing something civil, would you be able to separate that from the decision? Is I guess what I'm asking.
Right. And understand, neither one of them are running for a family court. Okay.
Right.
All right. So that kind of wouldn't be a fair question either, because they're not running for that. That's not what they're focusing on, because they're not family lawyers or running for a family court. I'll answer that. Any judge has to follow the law in the state of Texas. So if the state of Texas allows for a civil breakup and the division of property, then that's what you have to do. That's what they'll have to do. They'll have to follow the law as it's given and advocated by the lawyers. Usually things are settled without the judge having to be involved. The only way a judge will be involved in a case like that is if it's a trial before the judge, and then the judge makes a decision. But most of the time, the lawyers decide based on the law in the Texas Family Code, which you can Google and see it online. I appreciate you calling.
Well, just know they just both got our vote. So me and my partner were watching, and I think it'd be great. Somebody stick it on the court. I really appreciate your call.
And I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm very gay friendly, and I don't mean to be patronizing, because I was raised in a beauty shop, so in San Antonio by my aunt. So I remember before my other friends heard, I would hear men say, "I think I'm a woman trapped in a man's body." I was raised hearing that and understanding how people felt and the tears and the pain. And I don't mean it patronizing. I'm just saying I was raised around that environment, so I'm very comfortable in it.
Well, my partner,
I'm one of my few heterosexual girlfriends that actually will travel with a lesbian girlfriend to look like that's my boyfriend and not care, because I was raised in that environment, so it doesn't bother me. So anyway, but thank you for your call, and thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, and good luck, ladies. I hope you all win.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so Ramona, talk to me. What are you thinking? What have our callers stimulated in you?
Wow. I'm just so grateful for you for the opportunity of, I know this is, not supposed to do this or whatever, but I do want you to know that I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to be able to come here. Because like your first caller asked, where are your signs? And it's very difficult to get your message out on a very limited budget. And you have a great message that you want to get out to the Harris County residents, But it's very difficult when you don't have the billboards and, you know, the radio station ads, or even the signs, you know, the small signs that you see in front of all of the polling locations, you know. And then sometimes, you know, it does get you know, since we've been on the campaign trail, sometimes, you know, when you're talking about Harris County is like 2 million people. And, you know, you go to some of these places and it's like 5 people.
Right, that's
Like,
the thing
oh
that's
my
the thing that
gosh.
people don't understand. Yeah, you have to go to all the Democratic functions and civic meetings, and you get there, and you're killing yourself trying to get there after work or dealing with a client that
Yeah.
you know, client's mother who's crying because her son's in jail, and you get there and there's 2 people there.
Right.
You know, and you get to some of these churches, and some churches obviously are mega churches, but you get to when you're on that church campaign,
Oh,
some of these
yes.
churches have 10 people.
Exactly.
And I remember when I'm such a bleeding heart that I would have to give money to every church. So if I went to 10 churches, I'm writing $100, $50. I was going broke trying to write money to these
Yeah.
churches because you feel bad once you get there and there's
Yeah.
nobody there. So those people are Democrats anyway, and they're going to vote for you, but you still feel obligated to go. So it's difficult being on the campaign trail. And then when you start running, you don't realize how many people make their living off campaigning people.
Oh,
So
man.
everybody's wanting
It's
money.
like a
Like
vulture.
preachers are asking you for money.
Oh.
I mean, we're going to take people to the polls if you give us $1,000, and people will try to give it to them. And I know I didn't see them taking them to the polls. And so it's a lot of people that prey on this industry,
Yes.
campaign industry. So remember, try to pass the word on Facebook to get the word out. Don't be mad if you don't like it. Get your legislators to change it. It's a party vote, okay, unless you actually know the candidates yourselves and you can vote for them individually. Don't leave it blank. Vote your ticket, whatever your party is. And if you have a friend that's on the other party that you want to vote for, then you go back and unclick, you know, and click for them. But work with the system as it's designed unless you're going to get the money and the momentum to change it. Unfortunately, we've had to work with a system that was designed way before we were born. And we have to work with it. It could be changed by our legislators for it to be nonpartisan, which means you vote for the person, but you have to tell your legislators to do that. Let's take another call. Caller, please turn your volume down and ask your question.
Well, I was just wondering why non-Republican candidates do not tend to call out the Republican, the whole base, but the elected officials for their so many numerous instances of hypocrisy and lies and doublespeak and, you know, vested interests. I mean, if more candidates would call them out and make them defend some of these things, I think that it may help to get the base a little bit more interested, a little bit more excited.
Well, let me tell you this. I'll just share this. I'm going to let each lady say it. I'm going to start with you, okay? I'm going to start with you, Ramona. But let me say it first. I did that when I ran the 2 times, and all that did was make the DA's office hate me, okay? They hate me. They hate me. I don't even know how to say it any stronger. They hate me. They're like a clique and a clan, and young prosecutors who've never met me before, they hear my name and they just start frowning, okay? Because everybody thinks the same. You know, they're like the Stepford wives. And so there's no independent thought.
I think you can compliment when they do something that's legit. Yes, you should.
Oh, I do, and I do. I mean, I think the DA's office does a great purpose.
It makes it seem like the candidate, the non-Republican candidate, doesn't have the backbone, doesn't have the grit.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but yet a lot of what the DA's office does is good. I mean, it's not all bad, but we do want judges that have the strength to, if it's bad, to be independent. That's the issue. When you're down there every day, you see a lack of independence, and so that's why the candidates are stressing, like Ramona, blind justice, because we don't see that. We see whatever the DAs think, that's what the judge thinks, and so. And it's like a cult. It's like walking into a lion's den. Everybody's pouncing on you to make you think like they think, and you're trying to defend your client. So it's not a comfortable environment.
Well, that's true. But I think that it also genders respect when you speak, because it's very difficult to argue with the truth and with records and with documentation and so forth, whether
That's
it
true.
has to do with specific cases or not.
That's true.
And people respect that.
I agree
So-
with you, and you're a very intelligent man, and I wish that we could have more intelligent people voting, and we could talk to more intelligent people like you. But most
Well,
people,
I'm gonna suggest that people read a book called Mistrial by Mark Garagos, and he talks a lot about the criminal justice system and the flaws involved, and he lays it all out there.
is that the
And-
lawyer out of California?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah,
That's
he's
the
great.
one.
We have just 3 minutes left, so I want the candidates to answer your question. Ramona, why don't you start?
Thank you for the question. My strategy is not necessarily, I don't gain strength by talking about someone else's weakness in order to elevate myself. My strategy is to talk about what I plan on doing. And again, it's just, there are certain things that don't need to be said, and which is why I'm running. You know, I mentioned some of the things in terms of the court appointment system that needs to be changed. So for the voters, it is you mentioned that, we as candidates should call people out. Well, to me, I think voters should call people out.
Yeah, but I know I agree with you that's logically it seems like a good way to go, but when it comes to realistically how it works, voters don't operate like that. So with few exceptions, but not the numbers that you need.
Okay,
to gain your
that's a
election.
good point. Let's let Farrah.
But as a
respond.
judicial candidate, you have to run your race. And so I can't even wear a Wendy Davis sticker right now. It's against the rules for me to endorse any other candidate. And so as a judicial candidate, you have to run your race. And so I can't talk about Ramona's judge and what she's doing, and I can't, endorse other candidates. So you just stick to your race. And
Right, and let me tell you this, caller, just to add, because we only have 2 minutes left, is that's for the PACs to do, the
Right,
political
absolutely.
action committees, because they can be nonpartisan and they can take a stance. They can do
Yes,
that. Even
Yeah.
as a lawyer, there's a lot of judicial canons in which tells us not to criticize a judge. We can't do that. We
Right.
can criticize policies.
Right.
And we're trying to do that by letting you know it's like a clique, it's like a clan. People are married to each other. How is that going to work? If you're the prosecutor, if the prosecutor, you're the judge, caller, and the prosecutor is your wife or your friend's wife, and you've worked with them for 20 years, whose side are you going to be on as the judge? Do you understand what we're saying is going on?
Yeah.
And it's just
Definitely
kind
got
of hard.
some tangled webs to navigate.
I mean, you can't navigate through that. It's nothing you can say. I mean, we're telling you it's incestuous. We're telling you, these are
Well,
young people
yeah.
in their 20s who get out of law school, they work together, and they stay there until they get the huge county retirement in their 60s. So who are they married to? Each other. You see what I'm saying? And so on the Court of Appeals and on the judge, it's always a judge couple that's married. Then they're on the Court of Appeals, so they're grading the papers of the judges on the courts here, but they're the same people. That's what we're trying to tell you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, the Republicans do not hold back when they fire these shots, though.
They
And
don't.
sometimes
You're
I
right.
think we need
You're
to
right.
fight fire
And
with
see, that's
fire.
something that our party can do. Our party just won't do it. When I ran
Well-
twice, we had to give $10,000 each candidate to raise to give to the party to get out a joint message. And they said that they were going to shoot the shots, because they had the big money with everybody giving them $10,000. I never saw it. So I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not running anymore is because I got to raise money for a message that I don't agree with. I
Yeah.
agree. Call them out. When they put people on TV and on the news with tattoos, when they did that to Democratic judges, there's all kind of dirt on Republican judges. Being convicted of trying to sexually harass someone, but the Democratic Party wouldn't put that out when I ran. It was all kind of negative things out there. They wouldn't do it. So I agree.
Well-
As an individual, I couldn't. But
That's one of the reasons I don't think they had the following that they need to make
right.
any
No, I
moves,
agree.
but-
I agree. And tell Lane Lewis, he's the president of the Harris County Democratic Party, and maybe he'll do it next time. He wasn't the president when I ran. I'm
Okay.
getting the notice to wrap up. Thank you so much for your
All right.
call. I'll have 2 more candidates
Thank you.
on next Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 because that's going to be the last Wednesday before the November 4th election. And so you'll be able to shoot your questions to 2 other candidates who are running. I think one is, well, you'll see them when they get here. But thank you for watching Truth and Justice
Okay.
with Vivian
Thank you
King.
kindly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate.